Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon to the ones that are listening to us from China. My name is Sara Medina. I'll be just doing the welcome. I'm a member of the board of SPI, and SPI is the coordinator of the ENRICH in China, this European network of research and innovation centers and hubs. Basically, we connect different types of Europeans from the business, from the innovation, and from the research side, from Europe to China. And we help them on all matters related to science, to technology, and to innovation. So it's really, really a pleasure to have all of you with us this morning here in Europe. And the aim is that we are organizing a series of webinars to help the situation in Europe in this COVID-19. So this is the first of a series of webinars that we are organizing on COVID-19. This one is about research opportunities and project showcases in Europe and China. We have two other webinars coming up, one that is happening already tomorrow. So for the ones that can join us tomorrow, will be at 10:15 CET, and will be about how to turn our communities more resilient during the COVID-19 outbreak. And we have another webinar talking about how to connect with the Chinese medical suppliers in the fight against COVID-19 next week on Wednesday, on April the 8th. So again, it's really a pleasure to have all of you here with us. ENRICH in China, this initiative from the European Commission, we have 13 implementing partners, and SPI is the coordinator, and we are very pleased to be here with all of you today. We have about 20 countries joining us in this webinar, and I'm very pleased to introduce you the agenda and who are basically the speakers for this morning. We have with us Jessica from the Nottingham Ningbo University. Nottingham Ningbo is one of the implementing partners of ENRICH in China. And Jessica will be talking about the National Natural Science Foundation of China, NSFC, about the key project on 2020 to guide for major outbreaks. So she will tell us about all these specific opportunities that are available right now for all of you. Then I'm also very, very pleased to introduce you Michael Corley from the British Society for Antimicrobial Chemotherapy, and he will talk about the COVID-19 funding call. I'm also very pleased to introduce you my colleague André Barbosa. He will be also the moderator for this webinar, and André will talk about a showcase of the recent H2020 Coronavirus-related projects. So he will give some examples of current projects that are already going on this fight against coronavirus. There will be also a Q&A session, and André will now introduce you to that. And then I'll come up again in the end of the webinar to say a few words to you. So again, ENRICH in China is very pleased to be linked with the coronavirus and all that we can do through connecting Europe with China on matters related to science, technology, and innovation. You can always contact us. We organize also other types of activities like specialized consultancy and coaching. We have also a series of soft landing zones based in China, incubators that can host you for different time periods. We also have different types of trainings. We have also a newsletter coming up already this week. And we can also help you in access to any type of partner that you are looking in China. So anything that you need related to science, technology, and innovation, connecting Europe with China, you can contact us. Again, thank you so much for being with us. And I'll pass now the word to my colleague, André Barbosa.
Thank you very much, Sarah. My name is André Barbosa from SPI, as Sarah introduced. I'm very pleased to have you all on board for this webinar. Before we start with the presentations, just a small note on how the webinar works. All the participants, you are free to make any sort of questions to the speakers. You need to do so in written, and that's why I'm going to explain it very briefly how it works. When you join the webinar, you will see a panel control with different menus of the GoToWebinar tool. One of that menus is called questions. If you click on it, then you are able to write your question to any of the speakers, okay? We'll be collecting the questions throughout the webinar. At the end of the question and answer session, I'll be reading out the questions and then directing each of the questions to the related speaker, okay? So without further delays, I'd like to invite Jessica from Nottingham, Ningbo University in China to take the floor to present the NSFC call in China. Thank you very much, Jessica. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me? Hello. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jessica He from the University of Nottingham, Ningbo, China. It's my pleasure to present the funding opportunities in China as responses to the outbreak of coronavirus-19. So in this session, I will mainly focus on the 2020 guideline for major projects of the environmental safety and secondary risk prevention and control for major outbreaks by the National Nature Science Foundation of China, short for NSFC. And I will briefly introduce some funding opportunities in China as well. So to introduce this funding opportunity, I will explain from 4 aspects. First, I will give you an overview of NSFC funding and specifically this funding opportunity with 5 different research areas. And then I will discuss the application eligibility, requirements, and restrictions. And then, most importantly, I will explain the selection criteria that I got to know from the Selection Committee of China. To start with, I'd like to introduce NSFC briefly. NSFC is one of the major funding agencies open to international researchers. Its annual fund is about 27 billion RMB, that's 3.4 billion euros. International researchers are eligible to apply for many Chinese funding programs as a principal investigator or co-investigator, but under certain conditions. One of the conditions can be that research must be employed by an organization which is registered with the Ministry of Science and Technology of China or the National Science Foundation of China, which means these researchers have to spend a certain period of time in China. Usually it's 6 to 9 months every year. If you don't meet this requirement, another way for you to apply for NSFC funding is to partner with Chinese researchers who are eligible to apply. So the University of Nottingham, Ningbo, China, where I am from, is an active participant of NSFC funding. In this specific funding that we are talking about today, the 2020 guideline, the budget for each project is 2.55 million euro. And this will be open until 20th April this year. And all of the application will happen online. You can access to the application platform via the link written here, and there will not be any paperwork required for this application. And well, there are 5 research topics included in this funding. So an applicant can work with no more than 4 institute partners to apply for the funding. And in each topic, there are like no more than 2 partners are expected to work on one topic. So these 5 topics actually are set to meet the 5 different objectives set by the Chinese government. For example, in the first one, the law of virus recognition and transmission in environmental media. To study this, the Chinese government require you to develop new methods to isolate the virus and to test how virus survives in complex media. And the second and the third topics are developed to encourage the researchers to develop key technologies of killing the virus and controlling secondary risks. And the fourth topic is to build a methodology system of risk evaluation and ecologic remediation during and post the outbreak. And the fifth is more like from the theoretical aspect, is to encourage the researcher to develop the environmental risk control strategies as the response to major outbreaks that probably happen in the future. So if an applicant, the application eligibility is actually is normal and similar to other requirements and eligibility that NSFC usually asks for. For example, the leading applicant needs to have the experience of leading or managing basic research topics, and this researcher needs to have a senior professional title. You might not be very familiar with this senior professional title, but if you ask your Chinese partners, they will know it. This is like Chinese style thing. And second, the requirement, because this funding is expected to support the research for 5 years. So the research should be conducted between the beginning of 2020 to the end of 2025. Second, the project budget for each project is no more than 2.5 million euro. That's for each project. And third, the applicants can write application for both the major project and the 5 research topics respectively. And the project applicant should be one of the applicants of the 5 topics. This is a little bit difficult to understand. If you have a question regarding this, I can answer in the Q&A part. And there's a restriction part. This is similar to any other NSFC funding opportunities. For example, the applicants can only apply for 1 project every year. If this research has already applied for other projects, then they are not eligible to apply for this funding. And applicants with senior professional title, we just talked about this before, who has applied or are currently managing 2 major projects are not eligible to apply. Or the applicants without senior professional title who has applied for or are currently managing 1 major project are not eligible to apply either. So if you or your Chinese partner meet all of these requirements, then we can go ahead to the most important part, the selection criteria. So based on my telephone conversation with the selection committee, they confirmed that this project will be evaluated from this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 main aspects. For example, the topic, they expect the topic to be clear and innovative. So they have certain keywords in the topic so that the audience can immediately understand what kind of research method you are going to use, and which research problem you are going to solve in your research just from the topic. Feasibility, they mainly consider whether the objectives are feasible to achieve. To do that, you can use the recent and authoritative literature review in your research and in your proposal, or you can introduce your research team and lab equipment in your proposal to show you have all the resources required to complete this research. And innovation is very important. It can be shown in many ways. For example, your project is to develop some new research methods or discover new principles, new technologies, or on the other hand, your research can focus on the improvements of a certain technologies or research methods. And in the research proposal, you should explain all the advantages and the disadvantages of the research methods. And you should focus forecast the potential risks and also propose corresponding measures as responses to these risks. So these are very important. And I would also like to highlight the PI, the principal investigations qualification is also one of the key factors that the selection committee will take into consideration. They will consider whether the PI have a good accumulation of research work. They will consider whether the applicant's organization have sound research environment, and the PI, whether the PI is recognized as an influential academic at home and abroad. So all of these factors are very important for the selection committee to make their final decisions. Okay, so far we have talked about this NSFC funding, about what it is and what kinds of research topics they are interested, and the application process. Apart from that, I would like to mention that the European Commission actually has introduced many new funding support for coronavirus research. It can be found at its research and innovation website. I just put a link here. You can take a look at this later. And for some today's participants who are from business, I also find another good news policies that's from the Ministry of Science and Technology of China. They just had a call on 22nd March, just in the past one week. They have a national call to on the regional policy to support the development of science and technology innovation. So this can be a funding opportunity and also like tax waive in a lot of ways, and they are focused on both the research and SMEs. So if you are interested in this, you can also go to this website as well. Okay, thank you for your participation, and I would be happy to share more at our Q&A session. If you have any other questions regarding the application of NSFC, you are welcome to email me, and I will share the detailed information with you via email. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jessica, for the very interesting presentation and for all the perspective on the opportunities related to this call, the different eligibility criteria, selection criteria, and so forth. I'll now pass the word to Michael Corley from BSAC from England to present a specific British call on COVID-19. Before I pass the word to him, just to already reply one of the questions put by the audience, if the presentations will be passed to the participants. The answer is yes. there is a specific menu in your panel control in GoToWebinar called Handouts, and there you may find the PDF version of all of the presentations of the speakers, and you can download it. Okay. So without further delays, I'll now give the floor to Michael Corley. Michael, the floor is yours.
I'm sorry, André, before Michael starts, I would just ask Jessica to give us the screen back again, as we had agreed yesterday. If you can choose SPI to have the screen control again. Jessica, please. I don't know if you're hearing me.
Yes.
Can you please change back to us the...
I've already changed it back to you. Can you receive the message?
No, not yet. You have to go to the play button. Yes.
Okay.
Now it will work. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Michael, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Mariana. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the work of BSAC, we are a learned society and a charity. We have members in most countries in the world, all of whom are focused on saving lives by fighting infection. A big part of our work is taken up with providing education and events and advocacy. We have a grants program which has been in existence now for several years, and we have dispersed millions of British pounds during that time. We have decided to repurpose our grants funding in light of the recent global health crisis caused by COVID-19. Next slide, please. So the criteria, you'll see there's a marked difference between our approach and Jessica's for obvious reason. We're talking about small amounts of money, largely seed funding, and as a result, that's reflected in the criteria. So it's very open-ended, and the rubric is a lot less tightly defined. So what we're saying is that we're making grants of up to 25,000 British pounds available to support research projects. However, that's not to say that in the case of exceptional applications, we will consider giving more. And I think it's worth saying at this point that we're in ongoing conversations with other bigger funders with a view to either passing on, supporting in the first phase promising projects, and then passing them on or referring them to people like our friends at the Wellcome Trust. Or indeed, if we just decide to make fewer grants available, but of a bigger order. So we're prepared to fund new projects. We're prepared to support the extension of existing research projects. And we are also prepared to cover the expenditure of staff and or consumables. So as I think I made clear already, applications are open to any organization anywhere in the world. And will be subject to a rapid peer review process. And crucially, because we have two very high impact journals, one of which is the Journal of Antimicrobial Chemotherapy, and the other one is a fairly new one called JAC AMR, we will also consider fast tracking the results of the findings of any of the research which is supported for open access online publication. Next slide, please. So how to apply? As the slide says, any expressions of interest should be in the form of a single A4 summary and should be submitted to the email address that you see on the slide, which is grants@bsac.org.uk by Friday, the 17th of April. And so the successful applicants will be invited to submit a short application then by that date in May, and awards will be announced the week commencing Monday, 18th of May. But I think it's important to say, I guess to reiterate, that we are in ongoing conversations with a view to secure additional funding so that we can turn this into a rolling program if need be. So really, this is just the start. It's a modest start. But if we feel that if we find enough promising projects, then we will do everything we can through our sizable network to bring in extra support. Next slide, please. So in recent years, quite a lot of our focus as an infection society has been on tackling the spectre of drug-resistant infection. And so as a result, most of the people that we work with in the immediate term are have specialism in bacterial infection, fighting bacterial infection. So we're really asking for virologists to come forward and support our rapid peer review process. So if you or anyone you know is a virologist with research experience, we would really appreciate your support in helping us to assess the applications as they come through. And again, the email address for those people who are interested in supporting us in this way is grants@bsac.org.uk. Thank you. Next slide, please. And then just to reiterate that we are a membership society. Membership is free, and that's largely because it accords with our mission as a charity and a learner society. We want to provide support and work alongside as many people across the world as possible. And so if you're interested, then please either visit the website www.bsac.org.uk or simply email membership@bsac.org.uk. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael, for the very focused and straightforward presentation. I'd like to remind all the participants that the question menu is open for asking any specific question or doubt you may have about the different presentations. Reminding again that the three presentations of these webinars, they are already uploaded on the handouts menu, so you can take a look at that and get them for your own use. The next presentation is upon myself, and I'd like to give a very brief overview on recent research projects related to the fight against coronavirus, which have been approved under the framework program of the European Union on research and innovation, Horizon 2020. Just a brief, before going to the presentation of each of these projects, just a brief information on the context. On January this year, the European Commission has launched a request for expression of interest under the work program of the Health Societal Challenge. So this call SC1 Coronavirus-2020, Advancing Knowledge for the Clinical and Public Health Response to COVID-19 Epidemic. The initial budget was of 10 million euros, which was then increased to 47.5 million. The results of this expression of interest were 136 projects submitted, out of which 17 have been shortlisted for funding, as announced by the EC at the beginning of this month. All these projects, they are normal consortia, Horizon 2020 consortia projects. They are now in the phase of negotiating the grant agreement with the European Commission, so they are not yet projects in full operation mode, but in the upcoming days or weeks, they will start running. We are in contact with all of these projects. Actually, the four which I'm going to present today, we have spoken with the coordinators. So anything you'd like to hear further information from their side, we'll be very much happy to put you in contact with them. So the 17 research projects approved under this Horizon 2020 call are presented in here. They are divided into 4 streams under which the research should be focusing. So epidemiology, modeling, diagnosis, treatment, and vaccines, all of course related to COVID-19. In this webinar, we want to present 4 of these projects. Nevertheless, I'd like to give you these notes. We are planning to have additional webinars to present the remaining research projects that were approved under this call. So please stay tuned in our website and social media for further information on that. Starting with one project related to epidemiology, which is iMove COVID-19. This is a multidisciplinary European network for research, prevention, and control of COVID-19. It's led by a French partner, and it involves a consortium of 20 partners from different countries in Europe. It's important to highlight that this is a follow-up initiative of a network which is already consolidated called iMove, so Influenza Monitoring Vaccine Effectiveness in Europe. So this network has applied for this specific research project on COVID-19. So the project aims to obtain epidemiological and clinical information on patients with COVID-19, as well as virological information on SARS-CoV-2. And this is achieved through 3 main aspects: a surveillance platform, which is adaptable to the epidemiological situation, some research studies, and evaluation of public health interventions, which could be vaccination, antiviral treatments, to build a knowledge base that could help guide patient management and inform the public health response. As I mentioned, the idea is to build upon the existing network of influenza surveillance, iMove, and incorporate the COVID-19 disease into the activity of the networks. The consortium comprises different types of actors from primary care networks, hospitals, and national laboratories of reference in different countries across the World Health Organization European region. There you have the website of the initiative and also the contact email of the iMove Flu general network. As you can imagine, as these projects, they are not yet running. Most of them do not yet have much public information available. But, and I'd like to emphasize that, any needs of further information on their activities, you can contact us and we put you in contact with them. A second project I would like to present is related to the modeling in the context of this pandemic situation, which is called Escalate for COV, or E4C as the acronym. It's led by a pharmaceutical from Italy and comprises 18 partners across different regions of Europe. And the idea is to use computational platforms to address the needs of rapid response to a pandemic crisis. So the idea is to build upon the existing knowledge of supercomputing resources at European scale, and trying to match them with the life science research labs resources to address international pandemics faster and in a more efficient way. So there are 2 major goals of E4C project. One is to identify molecules capable of targeting the coronavirus and to develop a tool effective to countering future pandemics over time. So it's important to highlight that this project not only intends to address the fight specifically against COVID-19, but also to build a sustainable example or a specific model, if you can say like that, to rapidly address future pandemic scenarios. The idea also behind this project, on a more operational and specific terms, is to provide a virtual identification of known drugs, so repurposing their use, and to identify proprietary and commercial molecules to be further experimentally characterized, and to define a workflow scheme for biochemical and cellular screening, test to validate these molecules, and this is a here through phenotypic and genomic assay. And together with the European Medicine Agency to develop a plan for successful candidates, so for the molecules which have been previously identified and screened in terms of their clinical trials in humans, also possibly in animals, and to identify this is specifically related to COVID-19, the genomic regions involved in host adaptation, pathogenicity, and mutations. So as you can see, the project is twofold: one, addressing specific needs of the current pandemic, and on a second level, to define a workflow procedure that could help address more efficiently and more rapidly future pandemic situations. This will be done relying on computerized and bioinformatic and cheminformatic technologies and algorithms, and also based on a genomical, biochemical, and biological approach. The use of supercomputing skills will also address the modeling of future mutations of the virus. This is specifically related to COVID-19 as well. So identify these candidate molecules for repurposing from proprietary or commercial compound libraries, and then which will be synthesized and tested. In parallel, the partners of the project will start the protein production for some of the identified sequences. The project intends also to cooperate with other previous existing initiatives, especially those which were focused on drug hunting exercise, such as the existing networks that addressed the Zika virus on previous Horizon 2020 projects. There you also have the information on the websites of the initiative. A third project I'd like to briefly introduce to you, focused on the diagnosis stream of the call, is CONVET, so Advanced Nanobiosciences Platforms for POC Global Diagnosis and Surveillance. This project is led by the Catalonian Foundation for Nanoscience and Nanotechnology in Spain, and comprises four partners. The idea is to establish a point-of-care platform for rapid diagnosis and monitoring of coronavirus, avoiding or trying to provide a different model for these monitoring and diagnosis on a more decentralized way, so not relying so much on centralized clinical laboratories. The device to be developed is based on an optical biosensor nanotechnology and is expected to be available for the market for a massive use in less than 12 months. The idea of the project also, besides applying that knowledge to COVID-19, is to use it for future global disease situations. The biosensor which will be developed will also be used in a reservoir animals such as bats, for example, to try to identify and possibly anticipate possible evolutions of this virus in those animals, and of course try to anticipate or prevent future outbreaks of pandemics in humans. The final project I would like to introduce to you is called FIGHT and COV, so Fighting Off Coronavirus with Broad Spectrum Antivirals, establishing animal challenge model. It's led by the University of Stockholm and comprises 6 partners from Central Europe and Nordic countries. The project intends to develop an antiviral treatment for the new coronavirus. The idea is that it can address, it can also identify and possibly fight against other viruses that attack the upper airways, such as all the family of RS virus. It's a broad spectrum antiviral treatment, which intends to fill in a gap in the fight against virus affecting upper airways. The project is expected to last for 2 years and to capitalize knowledge of previous existing research projects, and the budget estimation is about 2.8 million euros. There is not much information available from this project yet. We also didn't get much information from the coordinator in this moment. Nevertheless, you have some link for the for further information on the project, which is not yet much. And these were the four projects that we wanted to bring to your attention at this point. As I said, they are not still running. There are 13 other projects that are also negotiating the grant agreements with the Commission, and we intend in the upcoming days and weeks to provide webinars to present them as well. Speaking of that, and to finalize my presentation, I would like just to draw your attention to a few confirmed initiatives of ENRICH in China that may be of your interest, and most of them related to COVID-19. As Sarah referred at the beginning of the presentation, tomorrow we have another webinar focused on the pandemic outbreak, but different from this one, it will address some non-medical aspects related to COVID-19. So how to turn our communities and cities more resilient during the pandemic outbreak. Next week, we have 3 other webinars confirmed. A first one is about intellectual property rights within the context of the Greater Bay Area in China. And the webinars on the 8th of April and on the 10th of April, they are both related to COVID-19. On the 8th, we intend to present a few Chinese medical suppliers which are members of ENRICH in China network, and to present their supply offer of medical equipment and materials. On the 10th of April, we intend to present a technology and engineering challenge called ATEC Innovation Challenge, which is taking place this year. We have 2 other webinars on the 15th of April about how to soft land in China, and on the 21st of April, a webinar on artificial intelligence-driven softwares. To really finalize, just to draw your attention as well to the fact that our website is on constant updates with further information on COVID-19, focused on open research funding opportunities and on innovation challenges related to the fight against that disease. So please enter into our website. You see the details of the web page in the next page to be updated on any further news related to the research and innovation against the pandemic, and also about any further webinar or ENRICH in China activity related to the disease. We're also launching a special newsletter exclusively focused on COVID-19, in which we intend to summarize information about these research funding opportunities, innovation challenges, and other relevant research and innovation news concerning Europe and China in the fight against coronavirus. In case you are interested in subscribing to this special newsletter, send us an email to china@enrichcenters.eu, and we subscribe you to receive that information. thank you very much for your attention. Our website, as I mentioned, is www.china.enrichcenters.eu to be updated with information on these and other initiatives of Enriching China. These are our office addresses in China and in Europe, and please be in contact with us also through our social networks. Thank you very much for your attention. So we may now start the question and answers session. Reminding again that the presentations are uploaded on the handouts menu. You can download them there for your use. We have a couple of other questions that I'll read out loud and then pass the word for the other speakers. The first question, which is addressed to all the presenters, and then I'll ask Jessica and Michael to intervene first. Are there also going to be funding for young faculties or researchers? That's the first question. Jessica and Michael, I don't know if you have further information on the calls that you presented about that.
All I can say, hi, Michael here. All I can say is that our funding call is open-ended, so we will basically review the merits of each one in line. So we're not placing any exclusions at the moment on who and at what level can apply. So that's all I can say at the moment. I hope that helps.
For NSFC funding, I think as long as you meet the requirement and eligibility, you can apply. It doesn't, I have like a detailed information about that eligibility and the requirements. If you would like to have that, I can send like a full document to you via emails. You can just email me to ask for the document.
Thank you, Jessica and Michael. Yes, I'd like to stimulate people to getting directly in contact with the speakers to ask for further information. As you can imagine, most of us, we are not health experts. So we tend here just to present the essential information on these calls and then help you getting further information and knowledge of that. So please get in contact directly with us after the webinar if needed. There's another question which I believe was addressed to me about the Portuguese participation in the different approved projects. I suppose the question is focused on the Horizon 2020 projects approved. The answer is yes. We didn't do yet the compilation exercise of how many Portuguese entities took place or participated or are participating in those Horizon 2020 projects approved. But I can confirm that some of them have Portuguese institutions taking part. I must confess I don't know by heart which are the organizations, so I promise you, Victor, to send you afterwards further details on that. In any case, in the presentation from Jessica, in one of her slides, she had a link to the summary that the European Commission prepared about the 17 projects approved. So there you can also find further information on each of them, including the partnership. Okay. There is also another question which I'm going to reply now. If the webinars are free of charge, yes. All webinars of Enriching China, they are free of charge. You just need to register and then join the webinar when it starts. Okay. a final question that came just now about future calls. As I said, in the ENRICH in China website, we are constantly updating the page with open research and innovation funding calls related to COVID-19. For example, there is one call from the Health Institute's Charles III in Madrid in Spain. The Portuguese Research Foundation, FCT, also just launched a call related to COVID-19. There are other open calls in Germany, some innovation challenges from UK and from other countries in the world also addressing COVID-19. All of them are presented in our website. And as I said, we hope in the upcoming days to confirm a few more webinars that intend to provide further details on these calls. For the moment, we don't have any further questions. I'll just give you a few seconds just in case anyone else would like to write another question to our speakers. Okay, I suppose there are no further questions to our speakers. And before we close the webinar, I'm going just to give the floor again to Sarah Medina to say a few final words. Sarah, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, André. So I'd like to really thank very much each of you for being with us this morning. We had 68 participants from 20 European countries, plus from China. So I think this is a very good number. And we are very excited that we could share with you and have with us Jessica from Nottingham, Ningbo, Michael from the British Society for Antimicrobial Chemotherapy, and André Barbosa to present about these research opportunities that exist in Europe and China to help fighting against COVID-19. I'd like also to thank my colleague Mariana Marques. She was behind the scene, but she was also instrumental on making sure that this webinar could run in a very smooth way. And also thank our partner Steinbeis that also helped us in putting this webinar together. So once again, thank you so much for being with us, and stay tuned for the tomorrow webinar and for the other initiatives of ENRICH in China. I hope that all of you stay safe, and you can count with ENRICH in China, and anything you need from SPI, you can always contact us anytime for cooperation or for any further discussion. Thank you once again very much, and thank you very much to our speakers. Thank you. Have a nice day and a nice evening in China, and be safe.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So we can now close our webinar. Thank you for your attention. Just as two final notes, one is the research funding opportunities that we presented, most of them are open for international cooperation. So although they are nationally funded, international organizations or from other countries may participate. Please pay attention to that. And the second final note is, if you have on your organization, on your company, any relevant information you'd like to share with us, you'd like us to disseminate on the fight against COVID-19, either be it a medical supply or equipment, information about an open research funding call in your country, please feel free to share with us. This is a global fight. We're all together on this, and we'll be very much pleased in disseminating that information. Once more, thank you very much. Be safe, and we'll wait for you tomorrow in our next webinar. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.